I'm John Baldwin, and I've been a jeweller now in Plymouth for over 40 years. I have 3 shops, 2 in Tavistock and 1 in Plymouth. My forte is I'm a jewellery designer. I started making jewellery when I was 16, went to college and eventually arrived in Plymouth to lecture in jewellery design, and that's where I met Jeff Rogers. I liked him and he was different, and he's been with me through all my journey as a jeweller and a businessman. The thing about Jeff is, he's not just a numbers man. You kind of get this kind of image of an accountant who, what's the image of an accountant? Somebody who wears a suit and is really boring and just thinks of numbers. Jeff Rogers is not like that. He's clever. He's clever with numbers, he's clever and knows his business, but also he's creative. And I think that's why I like Jeff, because he's creative. He thinks out of the box in a way that other accountants or lots of accountants don't do. Instead of looking at your figures and the way your business is doing, he looks at the business as an organic thing, as a growing adventure, and will advise you on lots of directions that you would never have thought of. Quite often when you're running a business, you look from the back of the boat and you see the waves, and that's not the right way to run a business. The best way to run a business is to look at the front and see where you're going, and Jeff does that. With my son being involved in the business, it's always a problem of stepping into my shoes, and I found with GRCA and Jeff, he is very aware of this and very aware of the knowledge that Jamie needs to gain. I have got 40 years of knowledge, Jamie's just starting, and he needs somebody to hold his hand, and he needs continuity, and that's what Jeff offers. And in the future, obviously he will go forward with Jeff and his company to look after him. He's a brilliant designer, and I feel it is almost like pupil surpassing master, which makes me really proud. With Jeff, the great thing is he not only looks after the figures, but he looks at the big picture, and he's always there thinking of other ideas and advising you. He will quite often phone you up or text you. You know, I quite often get texts at 10:30. What accountant is kind of not just thinking of the pound notes for himself, he's thinking of the way he can help you. So I quite often get texts saying, hey John, have you thought of X, Y or Z? And invariably every month, what will come through the post, a brown envelope with a cutting out of the Financial Times about jewellery or something like that. And I kind of like that, because I feel as though he's thinking about me. And he does it with all his clients. You know, I've heard it from other people that it's not like just bring the books, I'll do them and I'll charge you a fee and this is how much tax you got to pay. It's like, how can I help that person? How can I help their business grow and prosper? And that's what he's like. Jeff is a sailor. He spent his whole life sailing. He's had loads of boats, and he's a very experienced sailor. It's the great thing about him is, if you look at a business and you look where you're going on a ship, to look to the horizon is something we don't do, and he does. And actually, he looks over the horizon and sees lots of things coming that you might not see. You know, kind of the old analogy of storms and tax bills and stuff like that. Jeff's there, mate. He's there to look after you. And he does. He looks after me. My jewellery career has been a really great journey. A roller coaster, as anybody in business would be. It's never straight, it's never easy, and there are always unforeseen things. I can't imagine not sharing it with Jeff, because that's what I feel. I feel as though I share my business with Jeff, and I was so fortunate to meet him so early on, because we have shared an adventure, and I'm still on that adventure, and Jeff's always kept me on the straight and narrow and made me aware of the directions I've got to go, and I'm very grateful to him. I admire and respect him. I think he's one of the good guys, truthfully.